Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been forever, absolutely forever since I've seen you. Thank you so much for coming along and joining me here. Lovely to see you, Anna, here in the studio, or Anya, should I say? Whichever is easiest for you, of course. Lovely to see Home Studios. Bolsko's here as well. What's your name, Home Studios? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. I know Inaya and Sergei were here as well, and Lolo was here. Lovely to see you all. So today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about lots of different things, but we're going to have one main. So your name is Maximilian. From the BBC lessons. Hello, Maximilian. Lovely to see you. How's the lockdown going at the moment over in Poland? Is it easing up? Do you know when you'll be able to go back to school yet? Fingers crossed it's very soon. So we are Renewable English. Feel free if you ever want to give us a donation. Feel no obligation whatsoever, but if you ever want to, please go ahead. You can find us here, obviously. A lot of you are here already. And here we are on the socials. We're also now on TikTok, but I haven't yet updated that. And my TikTok game is not really great at the moment. Hi there, Lola, saying Norbert, they're nice. There's Sdga has just come to join us, as you can see in the background. She thought she'd come and say hello as well. So let's have a look at the quote before we jump into things. We'll have a look at the quote and a bit of vocab, and then we'll jump into it. Buy less, buy local to construct a sustainable economy. I think the main thing here is obviously buy less. Still buy. Obviously, we do need to keep the economy alive, but do we need to buy as much as we've been buying? I certainly don't think so. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've had this jumper for quite a long time. It's still doing all right. It's doing okay, but I didn't buy it locally because I think, well, maybe I bought this. I think I might have bought this in Vietnam about 12 years ago, so it's still going okay. But yeah, to buy locally as well. So go to those local smaller institutions and buy what you can there. So if there's a greengrocer, why not go there instead of the supermarket to get your shopping? Sdga is a big fan. She loves it. She can't get enough. Always there in the background. So we've got a little bit of general vocabulary. We're going to look at growth, which is to get bigger, of course. We're going to think of decent. Decent is good. Decent is, not a bad thing. And affordable is something that we can pay for, something we can afford. So these are three key things to think about, really. Particularly when you look at, decent, decent work or a decent wage. People often talk about a decent wage. For me, it's so you can be able to live. You're able to live. But a lot of wages are not decent because things are not affordable. I have just for a moment, I think about petrol prices. In the last year and a half, they've gone up by about 50 cents here in Spain, maybe even more. Food prices are going absolutely through the roof. It's insane. So while we may have, decent-ish work, things are not affordable. And while the economy may be growing, it doesn't feel like it's growing on a micro scale. I'm certainly not making any more money as a teacher than I was 15 years ago when I started. For example, today, somebody at my local supermarket asked me how much do I charge for a private class. I don't often do private classes. But I love my ladies at the local supermarket. So I mentioned how much it would be, and it's actually less than I would have charged in the past. So things are changing by the look of it, but perhaps not for the better in that respect.
Hello, everybody.
Let's have a look at the SDGs. Let's look very briefly at SDG number 8. Now, I'd like to say I'm not an economist. What I've done, what I've studied, what I've looked into, I have read about this, but I'm not an economist, so oops indeed, Max, you're absolutely right. I clicked the wrong button there. But what we have here is to promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. Now, I'm not exactly sure how achievable all of that is. I hope it's achievable. It would be lovely. But for me, this sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, it looks like fancy wording, because how can we continue to grow if we are already too big for the planet? If you know what I mean. So we are already using way too many resources than the earth can provide. We're creating too much plastic. We're using too much wood. We're using too much oil. How can we continue to grow in a sustainable way? I'm not exactly sure how. I've heard about donut economics. I haven't read enough about them. And I've heard about degrowth as well, which we will see something of in a while. So I think I'll focus more on decent work, because I think that is something that is so important. And economic growth, of course, in countries with a weaker economy, 100%. In developing countries, absolutely. But is it necessary in Australia, in the USA, in China? Do we need to keep growing? I don't really think we do. But I would like to take a look at these two specific targets. There are 10 targets for this particular goal. The first one here is, by 2030, achieve and full productive employment and decent work for all women and men, including for young people and persons with disabilities, and equal pay for work of equal value. That sounds lovely. That sounds fantastic. Is it going to be achievable? What do you think? I'm not entirely sure. Also, equal pay for work of equal value. Now, I'm sorry, but I look at the pandemic. I look at the work that teachers have had to go through, the work hospital workers have had to go through, the work that people working in supermarkets and such have had to go through. And I'm sorry, the work that they've done, the work that they've gone through, for me is worth at least equal value to that of a football player. But I remember reading something that Patrick Emile Aubameyang said when he moved to Barcelona. He'll be moving for and playing for almost nothing while he's there. Almost nothing, he said. 2 million euros. Almost nothing. 40,000 euros a week. Almost nothing. After his 8 million payoff. Now, I'm sorry. If we're going to talk about equal pay for work of equal value, we need to decide what equal value is. I think it's talking about the gender pay gap here and removing that. But are we going to have decent work for everybody by 2030? It would be nice. But is it likely? I'm not sure. And this one here, by 2030, devise and implement policies to promote sustainable tourism that create jobs and promote local cultures and products. This is something I believe we can do. Tourism is something that has fallen through the floor during the pandemic for obvious reasons, being unable to change, to travel to different countries. And it has affected countries more that obviously rely on tourism. Island countries especially, here in Spain. But we do need to be able to promote sustainable tourism, because at the moment it isn't really. If you go to a hotel, look at the waste there is there. It's absolutely obscene. It's crazy, in fact. So that's the end of my rant about this SDG. I'm going to hand over to my good friend Unfun Frank, and he's going to bring you some unfun facts. Now, when he does, look and see if you can find the spelling mistakes that he made, obviously I didn't make the spelling mistakes, in the fact sheet. We'll see you in a moment.
Hello, everybody. It's Unfun Frank, and I'm back after a very long Christmas holiday. So, our Unfun Facts today for SDG8, decent work and economic growth. Now, keep an eye out. There's a few errors over there. I'm not very good at writing. So, the first one, the pandemic has caused 4 times more job losses than the recession in 2008. There have been a lot of jobs lost, but a lot of people have still made a lot of money. Earth's Overshoot Day last year was the 29th of July. Now, the Overshoot Day is the day when humanity's resource consumption for the year exceeds Earth's capacity to regenerate those resources. Now, to think about that, back in 1990, it was October the 11th, and now it's July the 29th. I wonder what it'll be this year. We need to stop consuming. The next unfun fact, as I mentioned earlier, the wealthiest 1% of people control more than half of the world's wealth. That's just not okay. And if we continue to grow at the rate we're growing,
Well, there we go. There were the unfun facts from Unfun Frank, and they froze at the end there. So let's hope that they worked enough to get us the whole way through. So let's check this out. The first one here. 4 times as many people have lost their jobs due to the pandemic compared to the previous financial crisis in 2007 to 2009. Well, we've got some answers already there. Maximilian straight in there. That's incredible. He said true. It was true. Very good. This is absolutely true. 4 times as many people lost their jobs. I lost my job during the pandemic. You could see that the dog was even there from Frank as well. Let's check out fact number 2. Let's see if anyone can be as fast as Maximilian for this next fact. Earth Overshoot Day is mid-August. Earth Overshoot Day is mid-August. What do you think? Is that true or false? Is it true or false? I don't know. Is it true or false? Is it true or false? Mid-August. What do you think? Let's have a look there. Everyone feeling shy in the chat this time. Earth Overshoot Day. So remember, Earth Overshoot Day is the day when we use the resources that the Earth can generate. Olympium says it's true. Olivia says it's true. It would be nice if it was mid-August. It is, in fact, July the 29th. By the 29th of July, we've used up all of the Earth's resources that it can generate every year. And if you remember there, Unfun Frank told us that just 32 years ago, it was October the 11th. We did see a dip, and it went back to mid-August last year, but that was obviously due to lockdowns and so on and so forth. And the last one, and probably the scariest of all of the facts, 1%, oh, very good, Lola, there you got the answer. It was false, the previous one. 1% of people control 50% of the world's wealth. I should say about 50% of the world's wealth. What do you think? Now for me, economic growth, yeah, absolutely, Lolo. Economic growth, the problem with it is it helps these 1% so much when we look at the economic growth of the planet, look at the pandemic, look at Elon Musk, look at Jeff Bezos, look at Bill Gates, look at how much their wealth has increased during the pandemic. it's something that I find quite troubling. I find it quite troubling. So, do they need to grow their wealth anymore? I'm not really sure if anybody needs. Does anyone need more than, I don't know, $10 million? Does anyone need that? You know what? So what are you going to do with billions of dollars? What are you going to do with hundreds of billions of dollars? I just don't understand. Like, you could buy various countries with that. It's absolutely insane. So let's have a look. We're going to watch an interview soon about degrowth economics. We're going to watch it. I think we'll watch it twice because it's quite complex. These are the video questions. If you'd like to take a screenshot, you can. You can also get the. Oh, I've put the wrong thing there. I'm looking if I can find the link. It's earlier in the chat. The worksheet is on there, of course, if you want to use it or if you want to share it with your students another day, by all means, you can do that. The questions are on here. Feel free to take a screenshot. The first one you can already answer, and then we're going to continue with the others. Let's click over to our interview with Erin Remblance, all about degrowth economics. We've got a fantastic interview for you today with a wonderful guest coming all the way in from Australia. So, Erin, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, so I am Sydney-based. I am married with 3 children. Before children, I was essentially a poster girl for fast-moving consumer goods, working for Nestle and L'Oreal and Unilever in Sydney and London. And then after having kids, my world changed a little bit. I just couldn't get myself back into the corporate world. And kind of, I honestly actually didn't really understand the depths of our ecological crisis until a few years ago. And once I've discovered how really bad things are, I have kind of devoted myself to spreading the word. And so I have some articles published. I post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and anywhere else that I have a means to spread the word. But I guess I've made a promise to myself not to be someone who pretends this isn't happening anymore.
I'd like to know, how do you feel about the Sustainable Development Goals?
One of the things that initially made me kind of disregard them as being something serious, I'm sorry, is the fact that goal number 8 is economic growth. And for me, that is not a path to sustainability. There is no path to sustainability by continuing to grow our economy. A modern monetary theorist would say that it's actually really cruel to keep people, a certain percentage of people, in unemployment as a means by which to control inflation. Like, the human cost of that's horrible.
You mentioned degrowth. What is degrowth, or what is a degrowth economy?
Degrowth is this idea that if we reduce our material footprint, including energy, we will go a long way to reaching net zero far sooner than 2050. So yeah, like, it's just this other way of structuring the economy so that we're not making this job of, avoiding catastrophic climate change harder than it needs to be. And so there's some important concepts to degrowth that we need to make sure we don't leave out of the conversation. And that's, you can meet the needs of all within the planetary boundaries. So degrowth would provide people with universal healthcare, universal education, amazing public transport, even quotas of energy and water and internet. All these things we need to live a decent life would be provided, so that we could then start to take all the superfluous things out of the economy, like, all the stuff we don't need but comes because we need to grow the economy, obsolescence, single-use plastic, just things that we don't need.
It's been great having you on. Where can people find you to learn more about degrowth and what you're talking about?
I'm probably most active on LinkedIn. That's where I'm at. Brilliant. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, so let's take another look at the questions. Have a quick look again, read them again, and then we'll watch the video one more time. If you'd like to see the full interview, then by all means, click on over to the YouTube page. The full interview is there. Please do go there, check it out. I might even chuck it on Instagram as well, just so everyone can have a piece of the action. So I'm going to go back to the interview now. We can watch it again, and that way we can finish answering these questions. And then the moment you've all been waiting for, I know it. Soon after that, we'll have Ali's top tips. We've got a fantastic interview for you today with a wonderful guest coming all the way in from Australia. So, Erin, can you tell us something about yourself?
Yeah, so I am Sydney based. I am married with 3 children. Before children, I was essentially a poster girl for fast moving consumer goods, working for Nestle and L'Oreal and Unilever in Sydney and London. And then after having kids, my world changed a little bit. I just couldn't get myself back into the corporate world. And kind of, I honestly actually didn't really understand the depths of our ecological crisis until a few years ago. And once I've discovered how really bad things are, I have kind of devoted myself to spreading the word. And so I have some articles published. I post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and anywhere else that I have a means to spread the word. But I guess I've made a promise to myself not to be someone who pretends this isn't happening anymore.
I'd like to know, how do you feel about the Sustainable Development Goals?
One of the things that initially made me kind of disregard them as being something serious, is the fact that goal number 8 is economic growth. And for me, that is not a path to sustainability. There is no path to sustainability by continuing to grow our economy. A modern monetary theorist would say that it's actually really cruel to keep people, a certain percentage of people, in unemployment as a means by which to control inflation. Like, the human cost of that's horrible.
You mentioned degrowth. What is degrowth, or what is a degrowth economy?
Degrowth is this idea that if we reduce our material footprint, including energy, we will go a long way to reaching net zero far sooner than 2050. So yeah, like, it's just this other way of structuring the economy so that we're not making this job of, avoiding catastrophic climate change harder than it needs to be. And so there's some important concepts to degrowth that we need to make sure we don't leave out of the conversation. And that's, you can meet the needs of all within the planetary boundaries. So degrowth would provide people with universal healthcare, universal education, amazing public transport, even quotas of energy and water and internet. All these things we need to live a decent life would be provided, so that we could then start to take all the superfluous things out of the economy, like, all the stuff we don't need but comes because we need to grow the economy, obsolescence, single-use plastic, just things that we don't need.
It's been great having you on. Where can people find you to learn more about degrowth and what you're talking about?
I'm probably most active on LinkedIn. That's where I'm at.
Brilliant.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And it's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Right then, so what have we got? We had the dog was there again, obviously, when I did that interview about a week or so ago. So SDG8 is what we've been talking about all day. Do you know what it is? Can you chuck it in the chat box? Feel free, go ahead. What is SDG8? Do you think Erin's a big fan of SDG8? Do you think I'm a big fan of SDG8? I'm not a huge fan, to be perfectly honest. So as I say, that's what we've been talking about today. Can anyone remember what SDG8 is? Do you remember? It is the Sustainable Development Goal 8, and it is all about decent work and economic growth. According to the United Nations, something is wrong. Something is wrong. You're absolutely right. Do we need to grow our economies? According to Aaron, no. I'm not sure we do. Very good, Anya. Decent work. Decent work, economic growth. Good job. Something was wrong. Did you not see the video? Was it an issue there, Maximilian? But let's have a look here. See if anyone remembers. Can anyone name at least one? Very good. Nestle and Unilever. Anya, amazing. Straight in there. Brilliant. The other one was... I'm going to check my answers because I've got it written down here. I also like to do it at the same time. That's why I had my headphones in. L'Oreal was the other one. L'Oreal was the other company she'd worked for. Brilliant, Anya. Spot on. What was the promise that she made? What was the promise that she made? Well done. Excellent, Anya. L'Oreal, brilliant. The promise that she made. That makes me think of a song by the Beautiful South. Talking about a dress. I'm not going to sing it. I won't sing it because it's, terrible on my part. The promise that she made was she wouldn't ignore the problem anymore. She wouldn't ignore the climate catastrophe. Let's be honest. Climate crisis, climate emergency, climate catastrophe. She wouldn't ignore it anymore, and she would take steps to make a difference wherever she could. And then she said, what would modern monetary theorists say is cruel? She said that they would say something was good words there, Harry. Well done. Brilliant. Very good. Anya, stop pretending it is okay. Anya is on fire today. Absolutely on fire. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. I'm no Alicia Keys, that's for sure. Modern monetary theorists would say something was cruel. And that is keeping people in unemployment. Very good. Keeping unemployment to a certain level. To be honest, I was really lucky last week. Anya came on Teachers Talk Radio. And she joined me on there and we were having a nice conversation. I think she should come here, to be honest, and just teach the class. She is absolutely smashing it. So, pat on the back there, Anya. Nice song. Thank you, Maximilian. I wouldn't say it was nice exactly. Not the best. And she claims that D-groups can provide 2 universal services. Do you remember the 21st night of September? And do you remember the 2 services? No, Anya, not at all. She's amazing. Absolute legend, Anya is. In fact, I'm going to celebrate her right now by changing my hat. There we go. That was especially for you. Especially for you. Cool. All the songs are coming out now. So Erin claims degrowth will provide which 2 things? It is universal healthcare and education. She also says it will be good for public transport. There we go. It is time for the best time in the whole class. We all know it's the best time in the whole class, which is why I save it till the end. It's time for Ali's top tips. She got a little bit sassy with these ones. Very good. Healthcare and education. Look at that. Save the day. So we're going to jump over to Ali's top tips before saying goodbye. Keep an eye out for what she says. Keep an ear out. If you have any more, please do share them. You can use the hashtag Renewable English or, of course, at Renewable English. I'm all over the internet, especially on Instagram. So here we are with Ali's top tips.
Hi, and welcome to Ali's Top Tips. So, I'm 8 years old, and I don't know much about decent work and economic growth. But here are some ideas. Campaign for a decent minimum wage. I'd like to see politicians living on €8 an hour. Fight to end child labour. Someone tell my dad about that. Let's try to make a greener future. Study for a more sustainable career. Thanks for watching. Bye.
So there were Ali's top tips. They were again focused more on decent work because, as she said at the start of the video, she's 8. She doesn't know much about it. But they were the things that we talked about and she felt passionate about. The minimum wage, the ending child labour, which is ironic, I guess. And of course, the preparing yourself for a greener future. That is that for today. Remember, do give us a follow over here. Oh, no, that's where you can... That is should be grounded for making child work. Yes, you should. You're absolutely right, Anya. Give us a follow here. Check us out. Feel free to donate if you want to. Coffee, Renewable English. We will be back in a couple of weeks. We'll be back with SDG9. Of course, if you're involved with Pearson and BBC Live Lessons, do join me next week on Monday. We'll be talking about our carbon footprint, and on Tuesday we'll be talking about deforestation. Please do come along for those. It will be lovely to see you there. I'm just going to make sure I pop this up in the corner so we all see it there. Do feel free to come along to the live classes with Pearson and the BBC. They are super fun, as I'm sure Anya and Maximilian can attest to. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you very soon.